Hi, Siddharth. Welcome to Your Next Move.
Hi, Shrey. Thanks for having me here.
India has been betting big on sports other than cricket. In the last decade, we have seen the rise of football, kabaddi, badminton, and now Kho leagues. Manchester United has recognized India as one of its countries from where it can get players. It has opened a school. NBA has opened up an academy. Why did such a massive change happen in such a small period of time to a nation which was supposedly singularly focused on cricket for all these years?
I think the short answer there is our population, and I'll elaborate on that. Look, at the end of the day, for all the names that you mentioned over there, commercialization is key to sustain the business, right? And commercialization will happen if you have a large enough and loyal fan base. Right? And India has the opportunity to tap into a potential of 1.3 billion fans, right? Where you acquire new fans and you build loyalty on the back of that, right? So that's one of the reasons that India has really seen these new sports coming up. And again, like I said, it's too simplistic an answer if I just leave it to population, but that's the overarching theme, right? But I think beyond that, I think you also evolved as sports fans over generations beyond just cricket. With satellite television and with OTT and internet platforms coming up, our access to live sport across various parts of the globe is unrestricted now, right? And when you see some of the best football on offer every weekend from different parts of Europe, the best basketball on offer, again over the weekend and on certain weekdays from the US, and you can watch it by paying $99 and on your mobile phone. Why wouldn't anyone want to do that? Any sports fan. So I think it's also access to information is the other, and then I think the third one is also Indian promoters and people who are looking to get into sport are now much more. Earlier, when it was cricket, you had the BCCI, you had a broadcaster, and you had eight IPL team owners, right? But now with so many other leagues coming in, and because the IPL is the premium product that it is, entry to the entry barriers are very high in terms of initial investments required. But with kabaddi, with football, with kho, with badminton, there are a lot of people who are interested in building their brand on the back of sport or even developing the sport in the country. And these leagues offer them that opportunity, right? So I think that's the other reason over there. And when you talk about international brands like the Manchester United, NBA, add Olympics to that as well because they are also looking at India in a big way. I think it's two reasons. Right? One is obviously to build that fan base, but also they're investing in development of the sport over here because they know that you can only do this much to invest in a fan base in the short term, but long term loyalty will come when there's actually an Indian star in that team, right? So, and I emphasize the word star, not just a player, because you need someone who plays well, right? Who also earns his or her place in the starting 11. Uh, in those respective teams or in those respective leagues, and that's where you're going to have a much more loyal fan base. It's like the Yao Ming effect that got made the NBA big in China. Right? He was one of the rocks of the Houston Rockets, and that's what made the NBA big in China as well. So. I think that's the other reason why you're seeing people investing in grassroots development of sport over here as well.
What do you think are the challenges of developing sports uh, as sustainable properties at this scale, and how big is the risk of investing in sport at such a massive scale and then sustaining it for a long time?
So, look, I might sound biased because I'm working in the industry, but I don't think there's any risk involved if you come in with the right intentions and you have a long-term view. What do I mean by that is, a lot of people look at sports properties that they invest in as profit drivers from year one, or they want it to be that from year one. You need to come in knowing that that's not going to be the case. Right? In financial terms, you need to look at your investment in sport as building an asset for the first 4 to 5 years. So it's a balance sheet play for the first 4 to 5 years, and then after that, you can move into a P&L mindset. Right? Once you actually build the brand. There's enough visibility and awareness for it. There's a loyalty, there's fan base, which is exactly what Kabaddi has done, which is what ISL has been doing. And the leagues that haven't done so well are the ones where people have come in with, probably a very myopic view of what they want to get out of it. So I don't think there is any risk per se if you come in with the right intention and long-term thinking. But then the flip to that is it also requires, a significant amount of investments upfront, right? But then the gains also are sizable in the long term. And I think that's good. That's one of the challenges for people, because you need to invest in development of sport. You need to, which will ensure that you have a steady stream of talent coming in. You need to invest in packaging of the sport. At the end of the day, majority of sports of the revenue comes from media rights. So you need to, present that package in a way that fans are excited to watch it every day. And then you also need to invest in developing the entire ecosystem, right? The example I always like to give is the IPL teams. Lalit Modi, say what you want about him. One thing you got to give him credit for is he sold a vision to some of the biggest names in the country, right? T20 cricket, none of our big players were played the T20 World Cup in 2007, but he still went and managed to get some of the biggest names in India to own teams. And again, what the vision he told them was, in 10 years, you're going to be sitting on some of the most valuable assets in the country or in the world, in certain places, right? And that's exactly what happened, and probably faster. So the first 3 or 4 years, a lot of teams did not make profits, but they continued to invest in building the core team and investing in providing the players the best support that they could get, investing in fan engagement, investing in providing great in-stadium experiences, and all that's paid off from year 4 or 5, right? I think from year 4 or 5, you saw teams started making profits, and now every team is making a profit every year, and the valuations, if you see, for each of them are also significant, right? They've grown beyond anybody's expectations over the past 3 to 4 years. So I think that's the model you can look at, and then it's just a question of scale. The operating principles remain the same, but then it's just a question of what's the scale of investment you're making for the first 3 to 4 years, and therefore how much returns is it driving for you in the long run.
I want to focus a little on the culture of fandom, and this is pretty important from a consumer's point of view. I have been a keen observer of how sport fandom brings out a sort of primitive, a tribal instinct in us. It doesn't happen in any other sphere of life than sport, other than sport. And with professional leagues, the country now is no more the tribe. The most interesting thing about this is that the tribe now that people identify with is something that they choose for themselves, unlike international sport where their tribe is already chosen for them. So I can't support Pakistan in front of my friends, but sitting in Chennai, I can support Delhi. Um, how do you view this as a marketer? And do you think there is any reason why professional leagues might ultimately become bigger than international sport in the next 30, 40 years, just like in North America?
Yeah, so look, that's an interesting question. I responded in two parts. Right? One is with regards to this fandom and the entire culture of fandom. This is a favorite topic of mine when anybody talks about sports marketing. Right? As a student of marketing, as a practitioner of marketing, the first thing you'll always learn in marketing is about the consumer. Keep the consumer at the center of everything. Right? In sports, you're not talking to a consumer. You're talking to a fan, and a fan is fundamentally different from a consumer. Right? A consumer of XYZ soap or shampoo, if that shampoo market share goes up by X%, is not going to go out on the streets and celebrate and take off his shirt and dance, or distribute sweets in the neighborhood. Sport makes you do that, right? There's that shared connection that you have with fellow fans and the team that you're seeing over there. It's called basking in reflected glory, right? As a sports fan, you'll always, if you support a particular team, if you're, for example, a Manchester United supporter, when you're talking talking about it with friends, you'll never say Man United won. You'll say we won, right? Or you'll say we lost, right? There's that shared connection over there, and that's what marketers tap into, and which is why a lot of brand building of other categories happens through sport, right? Happens through the platform of sport. Because brands see that as an opportunity to connect with fans at when they are at their in an emotional state that they wouldn't find them otherwise. And so it's important to tap into that aspect of fandom. So I think which is where it becomes extremely critical to look at sports marketing as a slightly different field compared to regular marketing, and no disrespect whatsoever to marketers in other categories, right? With regards to the question between professional leagues and international fixtures, right? I think there's no straightforward answer. I think football has got a good model going where you've got the professional leagues going on through the year, and you build fandom on the back of that, and you have people who can choose exactly like you said the tribes they want to support. But when the Euros happen, when the FIFA World Cup happens, fans have the same level of interest. It's not like interest levels drop, right? It's just that because the leagues happen through the year and in marquee international tournaments happen every 4 years, it just feels like we seem to be bigger fans of professional club teams than actually our national teams. US is a very different cultural context as well over there, because they are very they only follow sports that they are which are born and bred in the US, right? Like, or let me say leagues, not sport, right? Like the NBA with basketball, NFL is
Yeah.
American rules football,
There's baseball,
NASCAR.
there's ice hockey,
Exactly, right?
there's
Which
NASCAR.
aren't played anywhere else,
Yeah.
which aren't really played. There isn't a World Cup of baseball, so to speak, right? But the
Right. Yeah.
American the finals of MLB are called the World Series, right?
Right.
So I think it's fairly it's to do with American culture, where any other sport that comes from outside has a not invented here syndrome, and therefore it's really not picked up that much. Whereas in India, it's actually changing over the past. The IPL has changed that, right? Where until 2008 there was only one team everyone would support in cricket,
Right.
but now you have the Indian team plus one of 8 teams to choose from, right? And so I don't, and I think one feeds off the other. So if you're a national team supporter, when the IPL comes, you'll automatically want to choose a team to support. If you have been inculcated into cricket fandom through the IPL, there will be a team that you support. There will be certain players, Indian players who play in that team. Once they start playing for the national team, you'll obviously want to start supporting the national team, or at least following them, right? So that's why I feel one feeds into the other. And there's no one size fits all answer, right? A healthy balance of international and domestic uh, 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 club-based leagues is the way forward. I think football has got the perfect model in place right now. But again, it works for football. I think for something like cricket is being built on the back of national rivalries with your World Cups, T20 World Cups, Champions Trophy, and so on. I think the right balance for cricket is the way we are seeing it now, where you have a calendar through the year for international cricket, but then pockets of domestic leagues happening at different points through the year as well.
Right. So I'm sure you have a lot of anecdotes while working with sports people and sports teams that we would like to listen to. Uh, you can go for spicy gossip. It's always welcome. But along with that, any keen observation that you've had?
I don't have any spicy gossip, so let me say that upfront. Unfortunately, but having interacted with a few sports people that I've been fortunate to, I have a few interesting anecdotes to share. I think the first one is with Virat Kohli, and I've had the opportunity to work on a few marketing campaigns where he was involved, and there were TV shoots with him for that. What really struck me was the professionalism that he brought to the entire TV commercial process as well, right? Where look, this was 2016, where he was just hitting that purple patch, beginning to hit that purple patch, where the peak of his game, fitness levels were at the best he's probably ever been at, and by far the best batsman in the world by then, right? And we were doing a TV shoot for him in Bombay. He was going to fly in from Delhi the previous evening, and there was a particular time at the shoot, a particular time the next morning that we were shooting in the hotel with him. He requested for the script to be sent to him the day before. He wanted to prepare and read his lines and be ready on the flight from Delhi to Mumbai, so that he's not seeing the script for the first time when he comes for the shoot. When he comes for the shoot, just like he prepares for how he prepares to play for a game, he is holding himself accountable to give everything in the first take, right? And that's how well prepared he comes, right? And if he senses that the director is not prepared, or some of the crew is trying to make some changes which were unplanned, or it looks like they came in with a little poor prep, he'll hold them accountable for that as well, right? And therefore, I just got, I mean, the respect for him just multiplied. I respected him by that point in time for the kind of sports person he is, but I also respected him even more. It kind of grew beyond that, just for the kind of professionalism he brings to everything that he does, even off the field, right? Which is a huge eye opener for me. Otherwise, you always have this image of cricketers being, oh, they are the biggest stars. They can come whenever they want. They can take how much of a time they want. They'll keep you waiting for hours. None of that. Comes in, shoot at 8 a.m. He's there at 7:59, ready to shoot, give everything in one take. He's wants to ensure that the director is satisfied with what he's got, and then he wraps up on time, right? I think that's something that I picked up from him. A couple of others from a football perspective. I think one was when one of the projects I was working on around futsal in India, where we had Ronaldinho come in to play a couple of games, and he was actually flying out. There was a last minute change in his plans, and he had to fly out of Chennai to Brazil because he was appointed as one of the ambassadors for the Rio 2016 Olympics by the Brazilian government. And we had to do a last minute shoot with him because we wanted to create and bank content with him before he flew out. So we set up everything hastily in the hotel. We booked a meeting room and got a camera set up, green screen, etc. But we realized there's no director. And that was one thing we forgot to kind of do, and we had to set this up in like 5-6 hours. So I actually stepped in to direct the shoot.
Wow, okay.
I put my hand up and said, I'll do this. And it was interesting because he doesn't speak English. His brother's there as a translator for him. So I was explaining things to his brother. And he can't speak English, but he understands English. So he was able to understand what I said. The funny part was his part of his entourage was his brother and his manager as well. And his manager just went live on his Facebook page at that point in time. As we were setting up the shoot, I was talking to him, I was directing. Okay. So you're live on Ronaldinho's Facebook page, and a couple of my friends saw that, and they're pinging me and saying, "Hey, is that you?" And some of them who are hardcore football fans are also, showering the choicest expletives on me for being able to be in a situation like that. So that was a bit of that was an interesting one.
You earned your bragging rights while becoming a director by chance.
A director by chance, exactly. And it wasn't a very high profile shoot. It was just a piece to camera that he had to say. There were lines that were there for him. We didn't have to make him do a lot. So I'm also going to temper expectations with that. And I think the last one was for similar for futsal. After Chennai, we moved to Goa, and we were interviewing a few of the players. Sportz was there. We wrapped up an interview, and he had some free time, and he said, "Hey, anybody up for a game of cricket?" And we actually went to the beach, and we had a nice half an hour, 45-minute session of beach cricket with Paul Scholes. He's a very good bowler, tidy line and length, not fast, but military medium, but extremely tight line and length, and an extremely good batsman as well, right? So that was another highlight of my sports career, where I can always say that I played cricket with Paul Scholes, which is fun. But again, I'd like to caveat all this with saying that these are all few and far in between. This is probably 2% or 1% of my entire career, of my time in sport. The remaining 98-99% is fun, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be rubbing shoulders with the biggest stars in the world of sport.
Yeah. So coming to your opportunities and the work that you've done, sports marketing as a profession has opened up over the past decade, as sport in India in general opened up. And we grew up in an India in which Sachin Tendulkar was the aspiration of a million people. With time, however, some of us saw the opportunity of becoming a Harsha Bhogli. right? And then as we grew up, some of us realized that we could be anything from Andrew Lepers to Joy Bhattacharya. So sport for us as well was always expanding the what we could do, our role in sports as people, as professionals, were expanding as we grew up. Um, if you love a sport, you can become a legend without actually playing it. Is what we've gathered in all these years. Uh, Today, from data scientists to journalists, the sports industry is bringing the sharpest minds together. You yourself, I remember, had a very sharp focus of getting into sports marketing when the market was still very nascent. This was 2011, 2012. What steps do you think that someone should take today to get into sports marketing?
I think when if someone's looking to get into sports marketing or sports management, I think it's important to realize that just saying I have passion for sport is not going to cut it anymore, right? Because anybody who's applying for roles in sports marketing, sports management, it's a given that they are passionate about sports, they love sports. I think it's important to educate yourself, keep yourself informed on the various happenings in the world of sport outside the field of play, right? In terms of business models, in terms of media rights valuations, in terms of sponsorship deals, in terms of what's happening at a franchise operations level, in terms of what does it take to deliver a world class sporting event, into what does it take to deliver a world class broadcast experience from either for a TV broadcaster or for an OTT platform, and all that information is easily available on the internet right now. So I think it's important to build at least a base level knowledge of that, because only then you will be able to establish your credibility as someone who genuinely wants to work in the business of sport, right? There's a great example I heard from one of my peers in the industry who was talking to me the other day, and he said that this CA came to me and he told me, I really love football. I love Arsenal. I've been mad about Arsenal since childhood, but I'm a CA. I don't want to do only a CA job. I want to move into a finance role in sport. My this friend asked him, okay, you're a Arsenal fan. You go to the Arsenal website every day, as often as possible. He said, yeah, I go to keep myself updated on news and on the happening, etc. Like how many times have you paid attention to who the sponsors of Arsenal are? Have you tried to find a balance sheet of Arsenal or a P&L statement of the club? And he drew a blank, right? So I think it's important to make that leap, to understand that if you want to work in sport, the fundamentals of business and marketing, etc., you still need to know that, and you need to apply that to through the lens of sport, right? So I think that's something that's extremely critical. People who want to get into this space need to understand that a lot of people, reach out to people within the industry, and we're always more than happy to help. A barometer for us to gauge how keen someone is when they say they're passionate about sport but don't really, haven't really invested in finding out a little more about the business side of sport. And this is through publicly available information. It's not even something that we that's restricted access. So if people put in that effort, it helps them also actually understand whether they really want to end up continue doing this or not. And if they do, then enroll them in good stead in conversations with industry professionals who they want to reach out to. And I think the second one is reach out and network as much as possible. Uh, LinkedIn now is one of the biggest networks. You can tap into, reach out to the right people. I have cold emailed so many people, like when you said 2011, 12. At that point in time, LinkedIn still wasn't that big. I used to source email IDs from somewhere, write to them. You send 100 emails, 5 people might end up responding. 3 of them will be rejections. 2 of them will say, okay, let's stop. And I think you need to be ready for that as well. So I think a combination of those two is what I would recommend to anyone looking to get into the world of sport.
What do you follow, read, listen to, watch to further your knowledge?
So I think in terms of reading, there are a bunch of newsletters that I subscribe to that come to my inbox on a daily or weekly basis. So and not a lot, not a majority of it actually doesn't have to do anything with sport, right? I think it's more management, behavioral economics, digital marketing, human psychology. I love to keep myself up to date on what's happening in those fields. So I subscribe from a business perspective. There's a publication called the Ken that gives you one business story a day in your inbox. So I read that. There's FinShots that I subscribe to keep myself up to date on what's happening on the finance side of things and just understanding certain industries I don't pay too much attention to. There are certain digital marketing newsletters. There's Chuck Gopal's digital marketing newsletter once a week that hits your inbox that I subscribe to. There's Professor Scott Galloway who talks about product and brand and does a lot of sessions on product and brand strategy. His weekly newsletter I subscribe to. In terms of books, I read nonfiction. I started off my reading a lot of sports biographies or autobiographies. And then from there, I moved on to business psychology, behavioral economics, behavioral sciences rather. And that's how I keep myself updated. Currently, I just finished reading Atomic Habits last week, and now I'm reading Simon News's Who Wants to Be a Batsman. So it's a nice, funny take on a bowler's perspective on batsmen. And Atomic Habits I've heard a lot about, and it's something that I try and practice on a regular basis as well. So that's the flavor of the kind of stuff I read. I don't watch too many web series because I'm not good at controlling binge watching. So my method is to
None of us are.
abstain. Sorry. Yeah.
None of
So
us.
my method is to abstain. I don't read at all. I don't watch big web series at all, especially when one episode is linked to the other, and you're going to end up 8, 10, 12 hours just in front of the screen. I do listen to a few podcasts, and I watch these series that are like 20, 25-minute episodes with no linkage from one to the other. So I watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Simpsons, The Office, things that make you laugh and also aren't really binge-worthy content. They're snackable content. You can watch them whenever you feel like and stop anytime.
Great. Awesome. It was a very insightful session, Siddharth. Thank you so much for coming to Your Next Move.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks for having me on this, and all the best for future episodes as well.